Yeah. Family, y'all. Just keep it tight, keep it tight, keep it tight. All right. Yeah. Here we go, here we go.
Plato's physics, how is the world created? The sensible world came through the cause of the Demiurge, that's from his later works again, which brought order out of disorder. And that's what rulers are for. Rulers take this disorderly world and try to bring order out of it. And that's what God did in creation. He doesn't use the word God, but instead he uses the word the Demiurge, that in the beginning, the Demiurge created the world, bringing order out of disorder. The Demiurge did that. The Demiurge formed the material world according to an eternal and ideal pattern. So the Demiurge had these patterns and the ideas and forms that were used in creating the world. The Demiurge fashioned everything for the best. Why is a human being the way that the human being is? Well, the Demiurge created things for the best. And the Demiurge confers geometrical shape on the four primary elements, earth, water, air, fire, which are not substances, since they're constantly changing. How can you say that the fire is a substance when it's constantly changing? Plato's theory of art. Art originates in the natural instinct for expression and is always an imitation of forms, or an imitation of imitations of the form. So, an example of that would be if I'm going to make a sculpture of a person, right? I have a person modeling here for me. I'm making the sculpture. The sculpture is an imitation of the form. So what is art? Art is imitation. Art should always have an educative function, should educate us, and should have a profitable pleasure, which means that art or music or anything else isn't simply for the sake of entertaining us and giving us pleasure. It should ultimately be for educating us. Plato's influence over time. Plato influenced the academy that continued his teaching. So Plato taught at the academy, founded the academy when he moved back to Athens. So Plato founded the academy, so he influenced that academy. He influenced Aristotle, who was one of his students there and who never abandoned his master's legacy. He influenced the Neo-Platonists, which are the school mainly of Christians. We're going to take his thought and see how it is that we can meld these Platonic thoughts with Christianity. Neo-Platonism, we're going to call it. It's going to be fascinating because when he talks about this Demiurge, the Neo-Platonists are going to look at that and say, ooh, that's how creation is. That sort of the concept is sort of like that the Demiurge just sort of like spills over in creation. And that's how they're going to see creation. God is like a cup of coffee. God is the good that just keeps spilling over. Right? What happens when you just keep pouring the coffee and pouring the coffee and pouring the coffee? It spills over. And God is just good that keeps spilling over. And when the goodness spilled over, it caused creation. Right? And it caused the world and it caused everything that is. That's how God is. So Plato influenced these Neo-Platonists like St. Augustine and many others. St. Thomas Aquinas and other scholastics in the Middle Ages, they were more influenced by Aristotle. But remember, Aristotle was influenced by Plato. So really, Plato influenced Aristotle, who influenced St. Thomas Aquinas and all these other writers. And finally, Father Fred Copleston says, Plato is the father or grandfather of all spiritualist philosophy and of all objective idealism, and his epistemology, metaphysics, and political ethics have exercised a profound influence on succeeding thinkers, either positively or negatively. Meaning, 36 books Plato wrote. Out of those 36 books, those books influenced a lot of people over time, either positively or negatively. Some of them responded well to what he wrote. Others, like Nietzsche, said, whew, this is just crazy, creating this metaphysical, transcendental realm that we can't even see. How do you even know that it exists? But he influenced a lot of thought on some subjects, especially on subjects like the soul, so that Christians would later come along. And the conception that we have of the soul is largely fitting with the ideas of people like Plato. If you believe that the soul exists and that the soul was somehow outside of the body previously and it will be outside of the body after death, I mean, a lot of these are Platonic notions of how human beings are.
Father, his books, that's aside from the lectures, and they don't have any, they didn't have any, they never, the lectures were never written or,
We have no written record of the lectures.
yeah.
So, of the works that we have then, so there are dialogues or books. We have dialogues and lectures. For Plato, we have dialogues but no lectures, which is a shame because here he was teaching in the academy all the time. We have these books that he wrote, but we have no lectures. Aristotle, just the opposite. We have his lectures, but we don't have any books. What a shame that we don't have Plato's lectures. But what a great gift that we have his dialogues, because these are all those books, the 36 books that we sorted through. I mean, many of them dealing with Socrates, a main font of information that we have on Socrates, and on all these other ideas that he developed later. I mean, thank goodness we have the works that we do have. But, as is the case with all things in history, some things get lost to history. We'll never know what he taught.
Yeah, because there's a great contradiction that if he did or didn't say that, or that's what he meant.
Yeah.
Wow.
And if a person were ever to discover anything from those lectures, the question is, were they writing things down like we write things down today? Obviously it wasn't that easy to write things down 400 years before Christ. Were they writing things down? Because if you don't write something down, it tends to get lost.